بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. We previously began speaking on some of the rulings of wiping over the khuffain, that which is known as al-khuffain. And what's meant by al-khuffain is leather socks, a custom that was well known to the Arabs in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and other cultures and civilizations and races and people as well, was wearing socks that were made from animal hide. And also in 2017, and inshallah, Allahu Alam, if there'll be 2018, people who wear socks that aren't from leather, they're cotton, wool, poly cotton, and women may wear silk socks. Tayyib. Fishermen wear socks, types of socks. Hunters wear socks that are waterproof, etc. beneath their boots, and the list goes on. Different types of socks that people wear. We previously began speaking on the rulings of making wudu and having these types of socks on, wiping over them, taking them off, when, how long, how, and the list goes on. We previously spoke on that before. I think we did maybe 2 or 3 classes on this. Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, we were speaking, he says, وَلِلْمَسْحِ عَلَى الْخُفَّيْنِ شُرُوطٌ. He says, there's no doubt that it's permissible to wipe over these socks. It is also recommended, not just permissible, but recommended. It's preferred when you've made the proper wudu or ghusl and you're wearing socks, it's preferred to wipe over them and not to take them off and then wash your feet directly. We explained that as well in detail and posted it on the channel. He says, however, there are conditions. You can't just do it anyway, however you want to do it. There are conditions. Ash-shartul awwal, the first of those conditions, أن يلبسهما على طهارة كاملة من الحدث الأصغر والحدث الأكبر. فإن لبسهما على غير طهارة فإنه لا يصح المسح عليهما. When we pay close attention to the conditions and the breakdown, a lot of different ins and outs become very easy for you to tackle. Very easy for you to tackle, all right? The different scenarios. Wearing 2 pairs of socks, wearing boots, wearing sneakers, taking them off. I went as a traveler, then I came home as a resident. The flight was 6 hours. I'm back in New York. So the ins and outs become easier when you lock down the fundamentals. So the first condition for it to be permissible, let alone recommended to wipe over your socks, he says, is that you have to put them on in a complete state of tahara. A complete state of tahara. Complete state of tahara. The minor ritual impurity and the major ritual impurity. Minor ritual impurity obviously being like deep sleep, urination, touching one's private part, eating camel's meat, in which the wudu is broken. And you cannot pray or do anything else for which wudu is a condition unless you reinstate your wudu. Whether it's something that the ulama of Islam agree upon, such as salah, or whether it's something in which there is different views, such as touching the Mus'haf al-Sharif. Naam? Everybody understand this? Having wudu. Naam? Tayyib. He says, and also major ritual impurities, such as menstruation. A woman has menstrual cycle or postnatal bleeding, or janaba, sexual defilement. You had a wet dream, or you had sexual intercourse, whatever the case may be. Naam? He says, so you can't wipe over those socks unless you had a complete tahara. And from the issues that pertain to this also is tayammum. If you made tayammum without socks on, then later on you put on your socks and you got water, can you wipe over the socks? Is the tayammum, the dry purification, considered tahara, let alone tahara kamila? Moving forward, number 2, shart al-thani, that we explained already before, أن يكون المسح في مدة المسح كما سيأتي بيان المدة إن شاء الله تعالى. Number 2 is that you can only wipe over those socks during the allowed time to do so. If it's beyond that time, then it's invalid, impermissible, and incorrect to make wudu wiping over your socks. It has to be during the what? Allotted time. What is the allotted time? How long? We'll be explaining that later. 1,000 different issues pertain to this one condition. Everybody understand this? How long? Can I pray even though I didn't wipe over my socks? It's over 24 hours. I still have wudu. No one said that you can pray. No one said that you lose wudu. But you can't what? Reinstate the wiping. Understand this? The fundamentals lead you to breaking off to the what? Different scenarios. Clear, inshallah, is a huge difference. If the 24 hours run out, you're a resident, you still have wudu. You say, I have to take off my socks and make a new wudu. No, you don't. But you just can't make a what? A fresh wudu. But your tahara is what? Still there. But the mash has to be fi muddat al-mash, during the time period allowed. طيب. Number 3, الشرط الثالث أن يكون المسح في الطهارة الصغرى أي في الوضوء. أما إذا صار على الإنسان غسل فإنه يجب عليه أن يخلع الخفين ليغسل جميع بدنه. ولهذا لا مسح على الخفين في الجنابة، كما في حديث صفوان بن عسال رضي الله عنه قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يأمرنا إذا كنا سفرا ألا ننزع خفافنا 3 أيام ولياليهن إلا من جنابة. أخرجه النسائي والترمذي وابن خزيمة. هذه الشروط الثلاثة من شروط جواز المسح على الخفين. He says the third condition is that when you wish to make wudu or you wish to make a mash to wipe over the socks, then it has to be in the minor purification, meaning only wudu. You cannot wipe over your socks and you have a state of janaba. You have a state of janaba or any other type of major ghusl such as menstruation. A person went to sleep with their socks on, they were traveling, they woke up, they're now in a state of janaba for one reason or another. They cannot make a ghusl and wipe over their socks. Everybody understand this? You can only wipe over the socks in minor hadith. Hadith meaning breaching your tahara. When your tahara is finished, it's called hadith. Naam, and there's major and there's what? Minor. Major, such as we said, janaba. A person becomes in a state of janaba. Minor being you pass wind, for example. He says, there's no mash for things like this. And the proof is the hadith of Safwan ibn Asal al-Muradi. Safwan ibn Asal, radiyallahu anhu. That's collected by Imam al-Nasai, al-Tirmidhi, Ibn Khuzaym, and others. The hadith says that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu he told us and he instructed us that whenever we were traveling, we were on the road, he says not to take off our khufs, do not remove our socks, our leather socks, for the duration of 3 days and 3 nights, i.e. to wipe over them. Don't take them off when you're traveling for 3 days and 3 nights, yani 72 hours, unless there is what? Janaba. Unless there is janaba, unless you have to make the ghusl. Tayyib. So these are the conditions for wiping over the khuffain. Pay close attention here. Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, he didn't mention any other condition. He did not say that the sock, the leather sock has to be leather. Even though the word khuffain initially means leather sock, but it's not restricted, as we explained as well. He didn't say that the sock has to be permissible. What if you stole some socks? Naam? You stole some leather socks. Unfortunately, it's a reality. Just because you steal doesn't mean that you don't make salah. Naam? Just because you have a problem stealing, it doesn't mean what? That you stop praying now. And this is the trick of the shaitan. So when you're shaking your head, what type of fiqh is this? Stealing and making salah. That's stupid. It doesn't make no sense. No. That's not true. Just because you steal does not mean that you should what? Refrain from salah. Some of the ulama of Islam say if you don't make salah, you're a kafir. You're not a Muslim. There's no alim who says that if you steal, you're a kafir. And you know that stealing is wrong. Nobody says that you're a kafir. But some people say if you don't pray, you miss one salah intentionally, you're not a Muslim. So just because you fall into the weakness or the shortcoming of stealing doesn't mean that you fall into the shortcoming of what? Not praying. And the same applies to drinking alcohol, eating from riba, shooting people, stabbing people, selling drugs, making zina. If you have a girlfriend, it does not mean that you now do what? Stop praying. But from the evil of sins and from the trick of the trickster, and the deception of the deceiver, is that it gets the people to think like this now. It doesn't make no sense. How am I going to the masjid and I got a girlfriend? It's a reality. How I want to pray and I got a girlfriend. I'm going to go right back to zina. I'm going to go right back to drinking. No, it doesn't make any sense to pray. It doesn't make no sense trying to be righteous. And you keep going further and further and further and further. And then you may not even be a Muslim anymore. So just because you fall into one sin, it doesn't necessitate you to what? Fall in another. And that salah, that wudu that you make, the ghusl that you perform, that may be a reason behind you waking up. And you stop and say, wait, this isn't right. I keep doing the same thing. This is not right. Or you realize that stealing is a reason behind you being late for the salat. And you realize how bad it is, how bad of an addiction it is. Gambling. I can't even look like a Muslim when I walk in here. I can't even make salat. It's too embarrassing to be praying and I'm in a casino. I'm going off to pray. And that makes you realize, all right, you know what? It's time to do what? It's time to stop this act. Everybody understand this? Inna salata, that the prayer, it forbids a person from fahsha and from munkar, from evil, bad deeds. The salat, it does this. If you think about what the salat means. And the same applies to wudu. So, hypothetically speaking, someone stole something. He stole some socks from Macy's. Nothing. He stole some expensive socks that he wanted. I don't want to pay for them. I'm going to steal them. Everybody understand this? And then time went by. A week, 2 weeks, a month went by, and he wore the socks. Now it's time to make masah. Can he wipe over them? Those socks are not mubah. They're not lawful for him to have. He stole them. Everybody understand this? Or mathalan, let's say a man has silk socks. Mathalan, it's unlawful for a man to wear pure silk. Of course, unless he has a medical condition, unless it's a necessity. It's impermissible. So you find many books of fiqh, you'll study, they say that wiping over the khuffain, wiping over the socks, they have to be what? Mubah. No, they have to be permissible. They have to be what? Permissible. They have to be lawful. They have to be legitimate. And there are other conditions that they mention as well. Also, the Shaykh Rahimahullah, he did not mention an yakuna fi mahall al-masah. He didn't say that the wiping has to be fi mahall al-ghasl, the place in which a person washes the foot. He didn't mention it, i.e., a sock that's beneath or above the ankle. Everybody understand this? You'll find some they'll mention that the khuf, whether it's leather or cotton, has to be at least above the ankle. Because that's the place where it's obligatory to what? To wash. He didn't mention that. He didn't what? He didn't mention that. Nor did he mention that the sock has to be free from holes and rips and tears. Everybody clear on this or not? He mentioned 3 conditions for it to be permissible. Everybody clear on this or not? What? 3 conditions. The first one was what? What was the first condition? That you put them on in what? State of complete tahara. The second one was what?
In the allotted time.
In the allotted time. It can't be beyond the time that you have to wipe over the socks. And the third one was what?
Only if it's
We said he didn't mention that. We said he didn't mention that.
for minor purification.
For minor purification. For minor purification. طيب. He then says, أما المدة فإنها يوم وليلة للمقيم وثلاثة أيام بلياليها للمسافر ولا عبرة بعدد الصلوات بل العبرة بالزمن فالرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام وقتها يوما وليلة للمقيم وثلاثة أيام بلياليها للمسافر واليوم والليلة 24 ساعة وثلاثة الأيام بلياليها 72 ساعة لكن متى تبتدي هذه المدة? He says, as far as the time in which you're allowed to wipe over the socks, then it's a day and a night for a resident, i.e. a resident who isn't a traveler. Someone who's not a what? Traveler. On a plane, in a car, on a train, on a boat. However a person is traveling, walking, traveling from one city to the next. Everybody understand this? If you're a muqim, if you're home, then you have a day and a night. He says, and if you're a traveler, 3 days and 3 nights. Listen carefully now. He says there's nothing that's important with regards to how many salats you pray. The number of salats you pray makes no significance. He says the only thing that's important is the what? Is the time. Everybody understand this? There's some people that say a day and a night is how many salats? At least 5 obligatory and unlimited recommended prayers if you want to make. It says after 10 salat, you got to make a new masah. After 15 salat, you got to do what? Make a new masah. He says, la. He says, there's nothing important about the salats, but it's about the what?
Time.
The time. Everybody understand this? You may have time, you make all 5 salats in a shorter period of time because you're traveling, or you combine a salat because you're sick. Everybody clear on this or not? It's about the what? The time. He says here, So we have 24 hours for a resident and 72 hours for a traveler. The question is now, when does the time period begin? When does the countdown begin? When? When you first wipe over the sock or when you first put on the sock?
When you start to travel.
When you start traveling. Tayyib. When does it begin? When you put it on. Tayyib. When does it begin? First masah. Tayyib. So you have three views. The Shaykh, he says, تبتدئ هذه المدة من أول مرة مسحها وليس من لبس الخف ولا من الحدث بعد اللبس. We have another view now, another scenario. The first scenario he says when you start traveling. Then we have when you put it on. Then he says when you wipe. Another very important scenario that many people say is when you break your wudu. That's when it starts. When you do what? The first time you broke your wudu and the socks are on your feet. That's when the time period what? Starts. The Shaykh says that which is correct is when you make the first mess. The first time you what? Wipe over the sock. And not when you put on the sock, nor when you break your wudu. Everybody understand this? Let's make an example of this. The salah comes in, mathalan, says, let's say, mathalan, what? Time salah will come in, what, 6 what? When it comes, 6 a.m.?
Yeah.
Okay, 6 a.m., let's say, mathalan. So I'm in my house. I live 20 minutes from the masjid, mathalan. All right, when I drive, it's a 5-minute drive, for example. 5 minutes away from the masjid, I want to drive, it's no traffic. So I make my wudu at, let's say, 5:30 a.m. All right, I make wudu. I dry off my feet, I get dressed, and I put on my socks. I put on my socks, I brush my teeth, I get dressed. It's now 5:45, 5:45 a.m. Tayyib. 5 minutes to drive to the masjid, 5:50 get to the masjid, park the car, walk to the masjid, 5:55. Everybody clear this or not? So I made wudu and I put on my socks when?
5:30.
5:30. What the time begins, right?
No.
Huh? Why not?
You didn't make mess?
I made ghusl, I washed my feet, then I put on my sock. Clear this or not? Tayyib. So now the time begins or not?
No, sir.
The Sheikh says that when the first time you wipe over it, I didn't make a new wudu, let's say for example, until dhuhr time. Until when? Dhuhr time. Let's say for example, duha, I kept my wudu, etc. Dhuhr time came 1 p.m. So how long did I have my socks on now? For some hours.
Over 5 hours.
All right, now I made mess at 1 p.m. I'm a resident, I'm not traveling. I have until when to wipe over these socks?
Day and night.
Until 1 p.m. tomorrow, or 12:59, for example. There's more than 24 hours. I have 24 hours to wipe, but I've been wearing the socks now for what? Let's say I kept the socks on. It's now over a day. But what's important is the what?
The mess.
And not the salats or the wearing. Everybody clear on this or not?
No.
Tayyib? He says here, it begins when a person wipes over them. لأن الشرع جاء بلفظ المسح والمسح لا يتحقق إلا بوجوده فعلا يمسح المقيم يوما وليلة ويمسح المسافر 3 أيام فلا بد من تحقق المسح وهذا لا يكون إلا بابتداء المسح في أول مرة فإذا تمت 24 ساعة من ابتداء المسح انتهى وقت المسح بالنسبة للمقيم وإذا تمت 72 ساعة انتهى المسح بالنسبة للمسافر ونضرب لذلك مثلا يتبين به الأمر. The Shaykh says we want to make an example of this after we have explained that what's important is the wiping, not the wearing, not the salats, not the breaking of the wudu, but the wiping. That's when it begins. And you have 24 hours for a resident, 72 for a traveler. As the hadith clearly says, yamsahu, the traveler, the resident, wipes over his socks. So that's when it begins. That's what the hadith clearly told us. He says, let's make an example. رجل تطهر لصلاة الفجر ثم لبس الخفين ثم بقي على طهارته حتى صلى الظهر وهو على طهارته وصلى العصر وهو على طهارته وبعد صلاة العصر في الساعة 5 تطهر لصلاة المغرب ثم مسح فهذا رجل له أن يمسح إلى الساعة 5 من اليوم الثاني. He says a man makes wudu and he makes wudu for Fajr time. Then he puts on the socks. And he remains upon wudu until dhuhr time. Until what? until dhuhr time. And then he makes Salatul Asr and he's still what? In a state of wudu. He didn't use the bathroom, he didn't sleep, he didn't have camel's meat, he didn't touch his private part, he didn't apostate from Islam, he didn't go crazy, anything that's said to break wudu. Tayyib? All the way up until what? Asr. Then it's time to make Maghrib. After Asr, he says, it's say 5 o'clock. He makes wudu for Maghrib. He makes what? Wudu for Maghrib. This man is allowed to wipe all the way until when? 5 p.m. of the next day. 5 p.m. of the what? Of the next day. Even though he had on the socks for what? A longer time. But the time did not begin at Fajr time or Dhuhr time or Asr time. The time only began when? 5 p.m. of the Wadud. Everybody understand this? It only began when? 5 p.m. Everybody clear? He then says, rahimahullah ta'ala, فإذا قدر أنه مسح في اليوم الثاني في الساعة الخامسة إلا ربعا وبقي على طهارته حتى صلى المغرب وصلى العشاء فإنه حينئذ يكون صلى في هذه المدة صلاة الظهر أول يوم العصر والمغرب والعشاء والفجر في اليوم الثاني والظهر والعصر والمغرب والعشاء فهذه 9 صلوات صلاها وبهذا علمنا أنه لا عبرة بعدد الصلوات كما هو مفهوم أن كثير من العامة حيث يقولون أن المساء 5 فروض هذا لا أصل له. He says, so therefore, the man can make wudu, he can wipe over his socks until when? 5 p.m. of the next day. طيب? So, he says, so let's say, for example, that the next day comes, right, and it's 4:45. It's what? 4:45 p.m. All right? He says here, and he remains upon his tahara. He still has wudu. So he then makes maghrib, and he then makes what? Isha. He made maghrib and he made what? Isha of the next day. And then he also made what? Fajr. The second day, the first day he made when? He began to mess when? For maghrib time, 5 p.m. طيب. He says here, فإذا قدر أنه مسح في اليوم الثاني. The second day he wiped what? خامسة إلا ربعا, 4:45 p.m. And he remained upon his tahara. طيب. Until he made maghrib and isha. So how many salats did he make? He started off Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha. He says there's 9 prayers that he made. He made when? How many? 9 salats. He made how many salats?
9.
And he wiped over his socks. Everybody clear on this? He says is no point of how many prayers you make, not like what the general people say. That you can only make you can make mess for only what?
5 prayers.
5 prayers. He says what's important is the what?
Time.
It's the waqt, the mudda. Everybody understand this or not? He says, so what these general people say, he says, is baseless and has no value. And this is a very important point, guys, before we stop. And that is there are many things that have become popular and famous among the general people that has no basis in Islam. And it's not just a thing about America or New York or people that don't know Arabic. Overseas as well. The Sheikh, he wrote this in Arabic. This is in Arabic. He's talking about Arabic-speaking people in Saudi Arabia. Everybody understand? There's people that come from a land of ilm, and which tawheed and knowledge, and where there are countless ulama who live and walk the streets. And there's people who say these what? These baseless things. Let alone a country in which is what? Very little knowledge. Or the people of the sunnah, the people of tawheed, or even the people of bid'ah don't have the say-so. Everybody understand this? And the average Muslim is turning away from his deen, turning away from knowledge, turning away from fiqh. Everybody clear on this or not? Everybody understand this? The general people, they have different statements that are baseless. They have different superstitions. They have different fiqh hookups. And which actuality is what? Is of no basis when it comes to marriage, divorce, buying and selling. No, you can't sell it like that. You have to eat the date like this. Everybody understand this? They have misconceptions that are widespread. Everybody clear on this or not? And the only way of getting out of these misconceptions is through the sword of knowledge. That's the only thing that's going to cut through them. The proper fiqh. I'm sure if you sat down and if you thought about New York City, Jamaica, Queens, South Ozone Park, you thought about where your parents come from or this and that, you'll find you have a list of these what? Misconceptions that are baseless. Janazah, aqiqah, all types of stuff. And the people, they continue to practice these things. No, you can't do it like this. No, you can't eat that. You can't say it like that. No, you got to do it like this. And you sit down and you study it. It is not a da'if hadith. It's totally what? La aslala. has no origin in the kitab or in the sunnah or any madhab. Everybody understand this or not? So the revival of knowledge, the revival of fiqh, spreading the proper fiqh and the proper understanding is something which is necessary. It's something that's what? It's necessary. And the only reason why these misconceptions became widespread is because knowledge remained silent. And knowledge went into the corner and let the ignorance become prevalent. Everybody understand this? Allah Azza wa Jalla should knows best. Inshallah, next class we'll be back to Riyadh Salihin. We'll let you guys know when we go back to the fiqh of wiping over the socks, which is very important, and it's something that most people are going to do on a daily basis. Wallahu alam.